Relationships rule the world. When you're doing a separate task, like maybe you're engaged in a job or a project, you think about the tasks that you have to do, you think about what you want to achieve, and yet every success actually rests on your relationships. Not just relationships with people, but relationships with yourself, with your mind, with your body, with your spirit, relationships with those things that you're interacting with in order to do your task. So, for instance, if you take the job of a musician, the musician might need to have a vehicle to get to the job. So I know people don't tend to think of a vehicle as being something you have a relationship with, but if you view everything as relationship, then the fact is your vehicle must be well oiled, it must be full of petrol, it must be inspected in order to be able to achieve what you're doing. You also have your instrument, your relationship with your instrument, and the spiritual relationship you have, the physical relationship you have, keeping your instrument tuned, the relationship with your body, because if you have the job of a musician, that's very, very tiring and demanding on the body, so therefore you have to think through the particular requirements of the body and look after your body to enable you to carry out your task. The relationships in the places you go, if you're a musician, will make a big difference to your success as well. You have a relationship with your audience that you're performing for. You have a relationship with the person who's booked you. That might be your agent, or it might be the person that runs the venue. You have relationships with the people when you arrive there, perhaps the staff. All of these relationships will make a difference to the way that you're able to carry out your work. It's not just in the world of work, but just generally in the world, we're so unaware of how relationship governs everything. I recently have created a garden, and I think one of the tasks in creating that garden was to explore my own relationship with nature, and also to understand how nature has its own relationships. And some of the relationships that have come out of this gardening project have really surprised me. I see all sorts of things like the relationship between the plants and the visiting insects. So we've attracted lots and lots of bees and pollinators, and the relationship that they have with the plants really fascinates me. The other thing that I'd never thought about before was the relationship of the plants with the weather, with the movement of nature. Because if you spend some time looking at a garden, you realise that the actual beauty of the garden is so hard to capture in a photograph because the photograph is still. And the absolutely governing principle of plants and the way they are is their action in the wind, their action in the rain, their relationship with the sun. And the other thing that surprised me about my garden that I created was, because I've actually created most of the garden at the front of the house, there is a relationship which has completely spontaneously evolved with all of the people who walk past my house on a busy street. And they've been admiring the garden and interacting with the garden and giving me certain gifts for the garden. And the garden has had quite a big impact on these people. People have even stopped me spontaneously to tell me about sad things that have happened to them or happy things. And it's all because of the way that the garden has interacted with them.